Hi everyone. Uh, so I've decided to make a video, probably a series of video on the game Uma Musume. The global version just came out. So I know at least one of my friends started playing it, so I thought I would start making some videos, teaching him and how to play this game, what this game is about, and everything. And I'll make the video public so everyone can see it. I'm not super good at this game. I'm not an expert. I did won a few PvP competition. So I consider myself a intermediate. I know a few things. But it's mostly just share what I know, what I've learned over the past 3 years. So I couldn't get the global version or the English version of this game, so I'll be using just my account from the Taiwan Hong Kong server. So first of so this video would be a little bit of introduction and also about a little bit of the race mechanics. I think a lot of people jump in to talk about the characters and support, which is good, but I think you do need a little understanding of the race mechanics to help you understand how the game works and why we do certain decisions. Um, Later video, I'll probably go to characters, support card, and and then perhaps like do a training in the URA mode and show you like why do I make certain decisions and things like that. So it's the little introduction. So let's get started. So what is Uma Musume? It's a game of training, like a training simulation, like an athlete training simulation. So you work with a character or a horse for about 3 years or 72 rounds. And you end up with a character that you can go through in PvP races, in other races, etc. So this is the main page. It might look a little different from yours because we're about to hit the third anniversary, so we're much further along. But a lot of what I talk about would be the basics and things like that. So I'm not going to go over all the buttons and things like that. I mean, this is basically where you train the character. This is where you will spend most of the time. The gacha, all the races, like the daily races, the arena, story, and then the your team or basically what you have. So I'm going to go here real quickly. So this is where you can see all the characters you own, or I would rather call it you basically have the right to use the character because you can train the same character many, many times and get a lot of the same copies. So for example, this is what I have trained before. So recently, like for example, Auto Recap, which is a character that you will see at the beginning. You can see I have trained like 6 copies right here. So like when you draw a character, I consider you get the right to use that character or train that character. Um, so you get the characters here, you get a support card here. So the idea is you pick a character you train, and then you would find support or basically friends you would train with your character. And that's kind of the game. We'll do a simulation later or in the future, but what I want to go into is the race mechanics more. So in the Uma Musume game, I would say most of the time you are training with a purpose. You don't just want to train a character and then just sit around. You want to train it for either PvP or for the arena or for whatever. So you should have a purpose in mind. Most of the time, it would be PvP because that's kind of the biggest thing you would do every month, and that takes up like in my experience that takes up like pretty much like most of your time every day. Now, to do the PvP right or to do anything right, what you need to do is first you need to understand the racetrack because you need to know where are you racing and things like it dictates a lot of things. And there are a lot of good website database with that. This one I'm using, one of them is called Game which is a database. You could switch to different server, and then you can see the different race course here. This is a Japanese site that I sometimes use as well. It's called Game So a lot of times you will see these kind of maps. So they come in a lot of different style, but they basically tells you about the racetrack. This is the one from Game Torah. Same thing, it tells you about the racetrack. It might look a little confusing at first, but I'm going to go over like the basic anatomy of the racetrack, get you a little understanding terms with you, etc. And then helps you understand a little more because once you understand the racetrack, you will understand and also the race mechanics, you understand what the character does at each point in time within the race and why you do certain things. So racetracks are kind of like a field and track race that like human runs in at a stadium. They usually have an oval shape or like ellipse kind of shape race course. So this is a typical one. This is the Tokyo racetrack, and I have another one here, the Kyoto racetrack right here. They're kind of similar, oval shape, elongated on two sides. So one of the so if you have never been a racetrack, the best way I would say to think of it is like to think of like a stadium or like a race and track field. But unlike a stadium or race and track field, the audience stand is only on one side. So instead of having the audience stand around the whole race course, you would just have it on one side. And usually it's this side where the goal is. So this is the construction of the racetrack. The goal is always set. They always the goal is always fixed in a certain position. It's the closest to the audience stand. Except, yeah, it will be like that. So, and when they have a race of different length, of different distance, they just move the starting point instead of moving the goal. So you always end at the same point. So this is something that to keep in mind because like we will when later on in the game when you see words describing certain skills and things like that, you will need to understand what we mean by like the straight, the corners, and things like that. So all racetracks would be running in only one direction. So they always go one direction. So you see the arrow here. So it's either they go anti-clockwise or clockwise. Most racetrack, I think in Japan, goes clockwise. Now this could be a little confusing because if you use a Japanese website to check a racetrack, they would say right turn, left turn instead of saying clockwise or anti-clockwise. I don't know for the global version what translation they're using. But basically, right turn or right turning means clockwise, and then left turning means anti-clockwise. And most of the time, most of the racetrack are clockwise or right turning. You can think of it as like if you're running on the racetrack, you're going that direction. When you come to a corner, if you're turning left or right, that's kind of how you distinguish it. So this is the Tokyo racetrack. It's a anti-clockwise one compared to the Kyoto one, which is a clockwise one. So you need to. So this is first the first thing that is different for different racetrack. Another thing you need to know is whether it's turf or dirt. So turf is like grass, most of the race you'll be running, most of the big races in Japan would be on turf. You do have a couple dirt races, but they are way less significant or watched in Japan. So as in the game, so most of the races you will be running on turf. That's quite different. Now, like I said, so for example, this is the Tokyo racetrack. You see the goal is right here. So this side down here is our audience stand. So going from the audience stand, going in the direction of progression. So this one goes anti-clockwise. So we'll come to the different corners. So this is a straight line, or this is a straight. And then we'll come to what we call the first corner, second corner, and then this is another straight. Sometimes we call it the opposite straight, or the straight opposite from the audience stand. This is what this means. There are certain characters that have skills that interact with this straight line that you should know. You need to know in the future. And then you come to the third corner and the fourth corner. Now you don't see the term fourth corner used a lot. Usually it's replaced by the term last corner. I'm going to explain in a moment, but basically the fourth corner, and then we come back to the straight line that is right across, right in front of the audience stand. So this is the basic anatomy of the track. There are one or two racetrack. I don't remember which one exactly. I think it's the third racetrack that had a section that is neither a corner or a straight, which is really weird. You learn later, but they exist. But most of the time, if you're on a racetrack, it's either straight or corner. Very rare occasion you're on neither of those, which is really weird. Now, racetrack also is not a plane. It's unlike a human race track or like our track and field that is a complete straight line. You will see there are slopes that sometimes go uphill, downhill, and they do have neither, which is a bit weird, you could say. You could consider like the flatland. They do interact with certain skill as well, and so you do need to know the uphill, downhill a little bit if you really need to study it. So why go to all these detail? Because they dictate a lot of things. They affect how your character when they're on the racetrack, what they do and things like that. So let me go to a little more. So like I said, the goal of a racetrack is always the straight line closest to the audience. So on this race, the goal is right here. Is all if you go to a shorter distance, you can see the goal is still fixed at that position, always fixed at that position. The goal never changed. They only changed the starting point. Now, so when during a race, when a character is finishing at a race, they always end on a straight line. So you will see like later in the game, there are skills that affects what they call the last straight or the final straight. This is the part they're talking about, which is like straight line right in front of the goal. And just before the goal, we came to what we talked about, the fourth corner, which would be the last corner. A lot of things happen at the last corner. This is kind of like a very important position, and then we go back to the third corner and such. So sometimes the fourth corner is called the last corner because that's the corner connecting to the straight line where the goal sits. But remember this, the fourth corner is not always the last corner. What does that mean? So let's take a look of the Kyoto racetrack. This is a 3,200-meter race. So the race course is actually like one lap is actually less than 3,200 meters. So it actually runs two laps. So the auto character would start here. They would come across the third corner and the fourth corner. So this is the fourth corner again. So because they start right here. So when they cross it the first time, this is not the last corner because they're going to go through the game. So the last corner is usually the fourth corner, but the fourth corner is not always the last corner because you might go through it at the start of the race sometimes, like for especially for a long distance race. So for lap two, you see after lap one, they go back to the fourth corner. Now, when they go back the second time, then the fourth corner becomes the last corner. So that's why sometimes like you see the skill interact with the last corner, but they don't proc at the beginning of the race. That's why. Now you also see the racetrack, they color it differently. I'm going to use this to break it down for you to easy to see. So this goes a little bit of the race mechanics. So they for each race they will break the distance into 24 parts. The first four part, 4 out of 24, would be what we call the opening leg. And then the middle is the middle leg. That goes from the fifth to the 16th segment. And then we have 4 out of 24, 70 will be set the 17th to the 20th segment. That's the final leg. And then we go to the last four segment. That's the last sprout. So as you can see, it goes from lap one and then goes all the way to here. That's the last route. So your character is actually going to act differently at different stage. So here is a chart to show you real quick. This is of a YouTuber channel. I think it's a Cantonese channel, but it's a great channel. I watch him all the time. So this is basically what your character would do in the race. So everyone would start at the starting point is still, and then everyone accelerates at the opening leg, and then they go into a medium speed. So this speed they will maintain for all through the middle leg. And then when they come to the final, the end part, the end leg, not the last sprout yet, but the part before it, they will accelerate again to the terminal speed. And then they'll finish the race at the terminal speed. So your character actually doesn't run at full speed at all time. It actually goes through this. And there are different phases. So this is why you need to learn a little bit about the race and the different legs, because at different parts, it do different things. So I know I talk about a lot, but basically the idea is a race would have straight, would have corners. You always end on the last straight, which is closest to the audience stand. Before last straight is the last corner. Usually, most of the time, it will be the fourth corner. Your character would have an open leg, middle leg, final leg, last row. They would do different things at that time, at different legs. That's pretty much what you need to know. So thank you for watching. Hope you like the video. Like and subscribe. And that's all. We'll see you next time.